Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Protective and Emergency Services Committee meeting for March the 4th. I'm going to call our meeting to order. Before we approve our agenda, I'm going to ask that we make a few adjustments. We have a guest here today with us, Terry Polly from City Police, who is presenting on Report C, the Next Generation 911. So we'd like to move that up to A, if we could, and then we'll follow suit with policing standards, hate crime training, and operational report. And I'd also wonder if we could add in under E, in our minutes the last time I had asked for an update on our cadet program from policing, and I was just gonna look for that update. It's not included, so I was wondering if everybody'd be okay if we get a quick verbal update to where we are with that. Councillor Cohen? The cadet program, okay. And if we don't get to it today because of time, I know we have a full agenda, we can always defer it, but it would be great.
Okay.
So now I'll ask for an approval of the agenda, moved and seconded. Everybody's in favor, any declarations of conflict today?
None.
So approval of our previous draft minutes.
Madam Chair, just on to the approval of this February 17th. I wasn't at the meeting,
Okay,
but I looked at the minutes from our meeting on December 19th, and I wanted to bring something up in there. Can I just bring it up under approval of business arise from the minutes going back to the 19th?
sure.
Is that all right?
Absolutely. I'm
quickly?
okay with that,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I also made a note that in those minutes, we had requested as a committee, there was discussion last night about when we were questioned about whether we were moving the budget onto
Pretty
finance. We had looked to get more information, but it did go to finance due to our meeting being canceled last one,
It's in the
so
minutes.
yeah. Just so I wanted to point that out because we were questioned on that last evening. So now we can
I'll approve the.
approve the previous minutes.
I'm-
Any business arising from those minutes or back in December when his worship was.
So if I go back to December 19th,
Mhm.
that's when we had the draft fire operational budget.
Mhm.
And I know during that discussion, we looked at adding 6 more firefighter 2s.
Mhm.
And my issue was where would they go until the new station was built? And we looked at maybe going out to Sherwood or District 2, maybe splitting up the shifts, but I did check with our lawyer. The contract is very clear. They're 24-hour shifts.
Yeah, there's 3 shifts in the collective agreement, Your Worship. There's 8 hours, there's 10 hours, and there's 24 hours. There's different members that work different shifts. This would be yet another. We have a round of negotiations upcoming. 24 hours was not in there before the last round of negotiations. Before that, it was just 8 hours. So a new schedule is negotiated. The same thing we'd be looking
Under
to
the
do.
current contract? Like the contract that we signed with them?
Yeah, that expired in 2024,
With the
December 31st.
with the arbitrator's report that says 24-hour shifts?
That was the new addition to the shift schedule. There's a
So you
24-hour
have
now.
now 8 hours?
8 hours for our fire prevention officer.
Yep.
10 hours for our fire inspectors. 24 hours for our firefighters.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So the 24 hours would cover these 6 firefighter 2s, correct?
Yes.
Okay. My issue was that if we put them out of District 2, we'd have to provide accommodation.
And Your Worship, as I explained back in December,
That's not reflected in the minutes, that's why I'm bringing it up.
yep, we had that discussion, and there would be no need during the first year for accommodations, overnight accommodations in Station 2. That's part of our plan, building it out over the next 2 years for temporary accommodations in there for the members. Much like we put the temporary accommodations in Station 1 when we didn't have any, when we implemented the 24-hour shift schedule.
So you would make available temporary accommodations?
There'd be no need at the first year, if we weren't able to negotiate a 12-hour into the
Right,
schedule, then we would look to work with that operationally as best we could.
right. So if I go back to last night's meeting, this was not a rejection, this is just a deferral of what we want to do going down the road. So if we come back to it next year,
I'm not sure, Your Worship, who's deferred it. It's a no for this year.
well, a
So-
no to me means deferred. Because we have to come back to it at some point in time.
I'm not
The other
sure.
thing I wanted to say too, Madam Chair, it says at the end of it, after discussion, it was recommended to forward to the Finance Committee for advancement to council. So the report was advanced.
Yeah.
I
I think we were just last meeting when you weren't here, we had asked for an update to make sure we were where we were status quo, and we didn't see that piece.
At the February 17th meeting.
Correct, because there, once it goes to finance and changes are made, I was hoping that we would have had an opportunity to see what those, was there any changes, where were we before we kind of got to last night's meeting?
And be able to speak to them.
So I'm looking at the minutes right now, Madam Chair, for
Yeah.
February 17th. Is
Yeah.
it under operational?
It's the very last line in the minutes, Your Worship. It says, Councillor Julie McCabe, Chair, requested Sean circulate the budget to the committee. You weren't at that meeting,
No,
Tim?
I wasn't at the meeting.
No, and nor was Tim. So that's why it's only indicating that we had asked at that point to have the budget recirculated to the committee.
Right.
Yeah.
But in December 19th, we approved it, send it to finance.
Yep, the initial one, that
Our
highly
recommendation was to
overview.
move it on to
Yeah.
finance.
Yeah.
So it did go to finance.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure that it was said there last night by one of the councillors that it didn't go forward. It did go forward
Yeah.
because the minutes reflected.
That's what the minutes reflect. I had that in my notes here as well. If you're
Okay.
it was,
Yeah.
it
It
was
was-
recommended from us to go to finance and it's.
And I'm not sure.
It's
if
up
it
to
did or
finance
not.
to
I mean,
hash it out, right?
if it went to finance committee for review,
It
I
did.
think it did.
It did.
Yeah. I think at that point, it's just that happened prior to Christmas, and just before we get into budget, it doesn't hurt every committee to go back and look at where we're at and what's being recommended before you get into the main chamber to debate. So I think, maybe we initiate a new best practice moving forward with that,
Right.
moving forward. And I know this year was unique, so, we're
Councillor
harvest
McCabe,
on that.
again, the spreadsheet that we saw last night was yes, no, yes, no. My interpretation of the no for the firefighters is deferred until we start building and we start moving forward and we can find out where we can put those 6 firefighters going forward. So I wanna
it's a
make,
bit of a difference in understanding between your understanding and mine, but I'd love to have those conversations and see what we're able to
Yeah.
do with that.
oh no, it's.
We've been
as
consistent
the chair
with the
says,
ask.
my interpretation is that it's deferred and we will have to come back to it. I know we will.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so any other business arising from the minutes? Councillor Duran, do you have anything?
No, I don't, thanks.
Okay, Kevin, you good?
I'm great, thank you.
Okay, so let's move right into the reports and discussions, and welcome Terry today to talk to us about the next generation N911, NG 911.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for the invite and the opportunity to be here with you. Yesterday, we had a presentation from the Department of Public Safety and all the players that are involved here in the island with so NG is next generation 911. So I thought I'd share the slide presentation with you. Some of it's more so to do with introductions and some of the other players on it, but some of these slides might address some of the questions that you might have as well, so I'll just skip through. So our partners are Medicom Atlantic, Island EMS, Summerside, Charlottetown, and the RCMP, and Department of Public Safety and Department of Justice. Again, those are some of the names that are involved. If anybody has any questions, just stop me at any time. I'm sure a lot of you probably already know those names anyway.
Bobby, are you able, to see the presentation? Is it being shared to you?
No.
Are we able to do that?
You might have to check on the stream, on the YouTube stream.
Okay. I don't know if you're able to do both at the same time, Bob, but we'll make sure you get a
Yeah,
copy of it.
No, I'm able to do that.
Okay.
No problem, thank you.
Definitely can share a copy of it afterward.
That would be good, because I can't see that far away.
So the people on our team here in Charlottetown is myself and Chief Coombs and Deputy Watts. And here's it's a fairly ambitious timeline. So from now till, and then I think the CRTC has mandated Bell Canada to have a cutover date by March 2027. So that gives us roughly a year to get quite a few things in place. Up to this point, we've done a site survey at the station. There is some hardware that'll have to be installed. There's some electrical work, some network cabling that'll have to be done. Each 911 call taker position needs 4 Ethernet drops, so there's some building infrastructure work that'll have to be done. So we've done that already. We've done a site survey with Public Works and the Solacom rep. So that's already been done as well, so. And I had a meeting this morning with Ryan Shanahan and Sophie Hayes to start getting some of the contractors in place. So we're well underway there. So going forward, once we have, the site equipment ready date is gonna be June 30th. So that's the date we will have to have everything in place. There's a network server that Solacom will provide that's a 24U rack server. So we'll have hopefully everything in place by that point and ready to go. And then from there on, there's a lot of beta testing that's gotta be done, training for our dispatchers. And then some pre-functional testing as well. Some of the things that we have to work on here in the city is a business continuity plan. So I think we're working on that. And just any of the PIA, the privacy impact assessments as well, because there are some new features that will come with that. So next gen 911, again, like I mentioned, the CRTC has been mandated that we'll have a cutover date by March 31st, 2027. And this will bring a whole new level of features to our public here on PEI. So some of the things that we'll get, enhanced information for emergency service personnel. Initial 911 role provides a base for enhanced services, including like a text to 911 feature, multimedia, geospatial mapping. And it'll give our public safety entities here in Charlottetown especially a real enhanced capabilities. And some of the reading I've done on it, I think some of the geospatial things that used to be, I think the proximity location that we have now, I think is plus or minus 300 meters. I think this will narrow it down to like plus or minus 30 meters. So if in horizontal accuracy and then vertical accuracy, that'll give you like a 3 meter accuracy as well. So much more accurate geospatial information that our dispatchers will have. Again, this is stuff that's already been done ahead of time. The provinces, they've mandated Solacom to be our provider, which is now Alarium. Be fully operational PEI, yeah. So the cutover date, the go live date is the end of March 31st next year. So there is a cost to this one. The province is picking up the bigger portion of it. Our cost is $26,867, I believe, is our cost. And that's for 2 911 position call takers. That'll give us 2 positions, so.
Is that a yearly cost, Terry, or is that
That's
not?
an annual cost, yeah, starting next for 2027's budget, yeah.
And you said that we're being funded,
So
the province are paying for some of this as well?
The majority of the cost
Majority?
is funded by, so our cost, our portion, Julie, is 26,000, I think it's 867, right, Sean?
Yes.
That's for 2 911 taker call
So we're
positions.
looking at about 14,000.
Yeah, in that, so if we want to add a 3rd position, it'd be another,
Yeah.
13 to 14,000.
But Terry, can you, I think for the benefit of the group, can you expand upon that explanation of 911? Like there's a 911 center in PEI.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah, okay, yeah. So the main PSAP is Medicom Atlantic, right? The backup site is gonna be the RCMP headquarters on University Avenue. And then us, Charlottetown, Summerside, we're secondary PSAPs. So the initial call will flow the same as it does now. There'll be no
They'll
difference.
go RCMP than us.
Well, Medicom.
Or Medicom.
Yeah, or in the event that Sherwood Road, the building, something happens, those calls will be rolled over to RCMP
Okay.
on University Avenue, yeah. Excuse me. And then, like I say, then the call will be forwarded to our dispatchers from there. So no difference in the way the calls are handled today. Yeah, so does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. System secured. So there is gonna be, they're gonna provide 2, the same as our radio dispatch. There'll be 1 main fiber for for main day-to-day, and then there'll also be another one for diversity. So in the event that a cable gets cut or something like that, we'll have full diversity at the station. So another nice feature as well is for hard of hearing, or so there'll be a, I don't believe that'll be ready for March, but it is in the works to be that we can provide for a real-time text to 911 too for hearing impaired people. So that'll be a nice little step forward too.
Can I ask something? One thing I was wondering when we do all this, because we're primarily an English-speaking community, but we have a huge diverse population.
Right.
Is there any opportunity for having multi-languages with this
That was
system?
brought up, and I believe that there is some transcription provided just now. I'm not sure if that's through AI or what, but there was talk of some transcription services for translation.
Yeah,
So yeah,
maybe your next meeting with your
I can
partners.
find out a little bit more about that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Chair, I just don't want it to get lost that
Yeah.
the 911 center is the main point of contact for 911, then it gets referred to the
That's
different
Right,
departments.
right,
So that responsibility primarily relies on
them, yeah.
Right.
them. Our participation is when calls are deferred through a tiered system.
Correct. Yeah. Same it is now.
Right, no, I was just thought with all this new technology
Right.
that we're talking about, I'm wondering if they thought about this, not necessarily us, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. 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 It's not a real in-depth one, but it kind of highlights some of the features that we'll be getting. And so I'm going to be on a monthly checkpoint meeting with them every month for updates and see where we are.
You'll continue to update us as we're
Okay,
ready to
yeah,
get closer.
Absolutely.
So when did you say you're thinking
March.
March
March, yeah,
of next year?
of next year, yeah.
So just on the cost, Terry, so the 28,000 is a go forward, like operational costs, like what is the agreement on, because there would have to be equipment added into CPS.
Yes.
Who's responsible for upgrading the equipment as we move forward, like?
Yeah, so two things there. One, I don't believe that it's gonna touch our network at all. So it's completely independent of our network. So there'd be no responsibilities on our IT at all. And then the support from that will come from the public safety. Our responsibility is to find a spot for it and provision it with power and the necessary connections.
So we're just basically looking at the 26,000, 28,000.
And it's funny, cause
That'll be-
the money's vetting through Public Works budget for the police
Yeah.
stuff. I would love to see as we're moving through and at budget size and stuff too, where it's kind of put, at least it could be identified in our police budget page. You could have a line and it could say in Public Works budget, because it's important to see where all this money is coming in or what we're paying out, where it actually fits, rather than trying to sort through. I do have a point about that at the end anyway, but.
So I'm just trying to get clear on this, Terry. So going forward, it's gonna be 28,000.
Correct.
Currently, we were paying what for 911? Did you say?
I don't believe.
We're not paying
I
anything.
don't think so. I don't.
So 911 is not a municipal responsibility, it's a provincial responsibility, correct? So are all the municipalities being asked to pay into this?
So,
Yes,
They are.
yes, every stakeholder signed on with this, and the provincial, federal government paid the lion's share of the hardware. This is kind of like our user subscription yearly for
Yeah.
this enhancement.
But I think with 911, I think, do we not pay on our own telephone bill? We pay for that service. You get your bill, your telephone bill.
Yeah, through.
There is
through-
911.
Yeah, through
Who gets that money?
the province.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was just wondering. So we're being asked, Summerside's being asked, like all communities, Take Niche will have to pay into it, correct? Like it's not just
Through-
us.
I
Through
think you
the-
only had the 5, didn't you? 4 or 5?
I'm sorry?
Did you only have the 4 or 5 communities that was
Yeah.
involved in it?
Yeah,
Summerside
so there's
can-
the main PSAP and then there's a secondary PSAP, which is what we are, right?
So I'm just looking at next generation 911 at CRTC road. All phone and cell phone service companies will have to transfer from analog to digital to allow this system to work. So is Bell Alliant at analog or some of their systems, like if you go out to Brighton, you can't get a signal? Ask the chief, ask anyone that's driving around that area, so.
So this is a whole IP cloud-based platform.
Right. So who pays for that? Province? Like, who's gonna be convincing these cell phone companies, like the Bells and Shaws and Telus, that, look, guys, to make this system work, because you're gonna be allowing texting, you're also gonna allow, not only texting messages, voice messages, but also video streams.
Correct. Yeah.
So that has to be done through digital. I think some of the stuff that we have here, I've said this more than a couple of times. I was at Spring Park Elementary School. To use my cell phone, I had to go out to the light pole to answer the call.
Yeah.
This system has to work for everybody.
There will be some coverage issues for sure, yeah, that's,
And just the last question, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
We're a bilingual country, so both languages?
yeah, so
French
they
and
did,
English?
they did mention it, I can find out some more for you.
I know, Terry, you're just a messenger, but I'm,
Yeah,
we're always,
that
It's
they
always
were
the
talking
messenger.
transcription services with some, yeah.
Do you want to say something? You're trying to jump in there?
Nope, I think Terry covered it all. It's just basically, the province is going ahead with this, with or without us, and if we don't get on board and pay our subscription, we'll be analog while the rest of the province is digital.
okay.
So for a nominal fee of $28,000
Yeah.
a subscription, they're paying the lion's share of it, and if there's any issues with the program, it's a provincial program. So if there's places that are not connected, they'll be responsible for it.
Councillor Duran, any questions?
Oh,
No, I'm great, thank you.
Okay.
I did have just one other thing to say on this. The upgrading the technology with the next generation 911 does integrate with our Command Central Aware platform, a centralized intelligence system that Charlottetown Police will launch this year as part of our real-time operational center. So this does neatly combine with the technology that we're bringing into the police station with our Command Aware software. The two will combine together.
Do you have any idea when we're hoping to launch that?
You say
Real-time
June?
operational center? Sometime in 2026, yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you, Terry.
Thanks, Terry, appreciate it.
that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric.
So the next report is on the new directive that came down on our PEI policing standards. And Sean, you're gonna take us through that and update us on where we are.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Myself and a team have put a lot of work into this. This was created by the provincial government back on December 11th, 2025. PEI government introduced province's first ever policing standards, which provide a comprehensive framework for governing police service on PEI. A no ministerial direction to police services can take the form of standards, guidelines, directives, protocols, policies, depending on the issue. So the policing standards aim to modernize policing services throughout the province to ensure all agencies are consistent in their practices and ultimately to improve accountability and responsiveness in the communities of the province. Standards are also to make clear that the municipal police are overseen from a governance perspective by their respective municipal governments. However, operational command remains with the chief officer and the chain of command within each police service. So the new PEI policing standards include over 300 individual standards. The individual standards fall within the following 5 categories, which I'll go over. Within 50 areas of policing, categories with 50 plus areas of policing are as follows. Roles and responsibilities, which is 4%. Organizational management, which is 7%. Personnel, 17%. Operations, 55%. And specialized policing and support services, 17%. So that's how it's broken down. The province estimates that approximately 60% of the standards are related to policy, 20% are related to agreements, support services, and specialized services, and 20% are related to administrative processes. The province has indicated that more standards will be added to cover additional police activities, as they are a living document and will always be updated. This is what we've been working on for the last couple of months. Police agencies were given 90 days to submit a response and an initial implementation plan to the Department of Justice and Public Safety, and then a 24-month to operationalize the respective plan. Specifically, the ministerial directive provided following immediate requirements of the police services. Within 90 days of the effective date of this directive, each police service and the Atlantic Police Academy had to submit to the minister a written plan outlining how they intended to achieve full compliance within 24 hours. So we have done that. We've put our plan together, our initial plan, and sent it off to the Minister of Justice with a time frame on how we're going to achieve it. And that was in by March 9th, and you can see that in attachments 1 and 2 that I provided. As a next step, an internal project lead will be assigned to help modernize our existing operational manual and ensure that we comply with the new standards. To be successful, the project lead will work closely with internal subject matter experts and internal working groups to identify the key milestones, deliverables, and various stakeholders involved in the standards. The project lead, along with the chief of police, will participate in the working groups with representatives from other police agencies within the province and the Justice and Public Safety. Occasionally, staff members from other departments within the city will be called upon, such as Finance Department or Human Resources will be engaged with the project lead to provide input related to the department. Charlottetown Police remain dedicated to ensuring a thorough and proactive response to PEI policing standards introduced by the ministerial directive. Our dedicated efforts are aimed at meeting, and in many cases have exceeded the expectations set out in the new standards. We will continue to implement the plan and update council throughout the next year and a half till we have to achieve our goal.
Work.
There's a lot of work. There's a lot of updating of policy, procedure, reporting mechanisms that the province, Justice and Public Safety, and the Minister of Justice are requiring from the municipal departments.
When you're assigning a dedicated project lead, is that taking someone from the ground and putting them into a role, or how's that working?
Temporarily right now, we are reorganizing our sergeants, and the sergeant who's in charge of professional standards is taking on the coordinator position along with his other duties, and will be going over policy and procedure along with assistance from Justice and Public Safety who have a policy writer on staff. Municipal agencies get in line within the next year and a half.
And as you stated, Sean, we're on top of a lot of these things right now, so we're not too bad off right at this moment, are we?
Where
We're
we are,
implementing a lot of things as we go along,
where we are boots on the ground,
yes.
we are meeting or exceeding a lot of the standards and what
Right.
Charlottetown Police offer the citizens. Where a lot of work has to come in is updating our policies, procedures, best practices, and our reporting methods to the province
Okay.
and the Minister of Justice.
Thank you.
So providing that data and that information to
Yes, that's correct.
demonstrate what you're doing. That is a lot of work.
So, Madam Chair, can I ask, just on page 5, PEI policing standards, so the Mounties are going through this too?
Yes, they are. Every police law enforcement agency in PEI has to meet the standards of the PEI Policing Act. Standards
And
Act.
is like, if you did a comparative analysis, is this what's happening in other provinces?
We're the last province in Canada to have a Policing Standards Act. So we're last ones to do it. Every province in Canada has it.
What was the last province before us?
I have no idea.
Okay, so if we look at alleged roles and responsibilities, 4% of it, okay? Legislative framework. So one thing that we've come up with is, in the Police Act, like this may be the opportunity in the Police Act, we have to appoint the police chief. Is that what happens in other jurisdictions? Like, is that something the province?
Just the top button, I think. Tim?
Like, is that something we could suggest to say, well, if it's not happening in other provinces, it's a hire, but it's in the Police Act, and the Police
Yeah.
Act overrides the MGA.
The province has created the PEI Police Act.
Yeah.
The province has created the PEI Policing Standards Act.
Right,
They've created both documents.
Right.
And we have to abide by both acts
right.
under a ministerial directive.
Right, but I'm just saying under legislative framework, roles and responsibilities, like, I'm asking, do we have to have in the Police Act that council must appoint the police chief?
That would be a separate
That would
separate
be
act.
under the Police Act, I believe.
Well, the Police Act and the PEI Police and Standards Act, they're two documents that,
But they're different.
oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if we wanna be compatible, I shouldn't say compatible, if we wanna mirror one or the other. Like, I don't think the Police Act is that different, that it has different functions, different implementations. But, you know, they're talking about roles and responsibilities, I'm just saying for the legislative framework, should we not look at that?
The policing standards, PEI Policing Standards is laid out, it's a very lengthy document, and you can go in and look at all the different requirements.
Okay, so under operations, page 6, preventing and reducing crime, like promotion and unbiased police and road safety, would they not be standards that you would be already practicing?
I think
Would
it's that
you-
they're creating policy to show how that's happening.
Like gender-based violence, that to me would be already in there. And then if you go to personnel, that's a union issue. When you look at grievances, employment conditions, you know,
Yeah.
is the union, like the Atlantic Police Association, are they being involved, or no, that wouldn't be.
Your worship, like I was saying before, a lot of the things the Charlottetown Police are already doing.
Yeah.
We have to show proof and submit where we're at throughout the year on all these different items. Not that we aren't doing them, we have to show proof that we are doing them under policy and procedure and report back to the province on it.
Okay, so
On all of this.
Councillor McCabe, a teacher, guidance counselor, Philip Brown, who was a teacher for 30 years. This is what is going on in the education system. Report. What's happening? We're moving away from teaching kids.
Mhm.
So now we're gonna be report on policing, and we're moving away from policing. Like, we're gonna have to dedicate someone, like, and this is no criticism of you, Chief. It's just, I look at specialized police and support services, victim and witness assistance, communications, high-risk incident response. These are police dog services. Oh, we have to get that done. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff we're doing. Now we have to fill out the forms.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's really, it's not a bad document and everything is laid out well. The problem is it's
Time consuming.
It's very, very time consuming and
Yeah.
everyone is short staffed. And right now, we're reordering our sergeants and management and putting on the side of their desk. But this is going to be something we may have to looking at funding and bringing someone in, you know, depending on where we're at with our policy, or just to administer the day-to-day activity of the reporting.
If this is in, and I'm just asking, I might be completely not on the, we have the Police Act, that you are legally, you know, that's your act. But if they're wanting to draft the standards and they're saying it's a ministerial directive, why are they not creating binders that would be consistent across the whole province anyway? Which would then in turn meet what the Police Act role would be, right? We're trying to create union and consistency with our departments, whether it's municipal or CMP. We just had a presentation on new 911. We're all working together.
Mhm.
Why are they expecting each department to create these policies? Why wouldn't government create these policies and provide the binder done for us to be able to work within?
Counselor, because they want to give every law enforcement agency the ability to not have one cookie cutter policy for everyone in the province. You're gonna have the ability to write your own policy, and everyone's policy is gonna be a little different than
Depending on.
our policy may look a little different than Kensington's, for instance, and then different than from the RCMP. So it's not going to be pushed out one size fits all. We're going to have to.
But they're trying to bring our police standards together, so I don't understand, I get
Mhm.
wanting, it's like, every council has their own procedural bylaw, and it
Yeah.
looks a little different, but that's different, that's our governance at this level, like if we're really trying to bring our police service standards to equal
Yeah.
what we would expect, I would expect the same if I lived in Kensington, if I lived in Charlottetown, if I lived in Murray River, right?
Yeah.
So why is that?
I think that that's the purpose of the standards, is to make sure that there's no community in PEI that has a policing law enforcement agency that aren't meeting the minimum standards.
So if I could just weigh in just for a second, just a couple clarifying points. So the RCMP are not subject to the PEI Police Act. Although they'll meet standards laid out, they're doing their own thing there. So they're not, this doesn't apply to them. And secondly, standards are generally should be received as a good thing. In fact, Charlottetown, having worked there for times, I know we exceed most of all of these. Chief, I just caution you, just having to talk to your neighboring provinces about that are upstream on this, some of the unintended consequences or pitfalls associated to this. And it is things like unintended costs or the administrative burdens that these standards may cause, right, to change the focus from policing. But generally, I think we should be supportive of policing standards, but we need to be mindful of the costs that are associated to them and not to become, overburdened by them as they're implemented. That's
I think that's a great idea. We'll try our best to not be overburdened with the policy and the paperwork that goes with it, but
Yes,
it's going to be a juggling act. The good thing is that there is a working group, and I think we'll be meeting every 2 weeks, and we won't go any further than where the department that needs the most work until they catch up. So it could be a slow process to get everyone to where they need to be within the end of 2 years.
a lot of our reports, on the last thing here, Madam Chair, a lot of our reports, as you say, we're doing, but they stay in-house, right?
Mhm.
So they basically are looking to have them moved on to the police, or to the,
Department of Justice.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
Justice.
requests to pass on information to Justice and Public Safety through
Okay.
the Minister of Justice.
as you say, like, it's gonna be a lot more work, and,
Yes, it is. Yeah.
but
So, Madam Chair,
I don't think we have much say in it.
the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police of Prince Edward Island, have about 200 staff, 140 regular members, police officers, responsible for policing about 95% of the island. So they will be filling out these reports. They're a national police force. They will be filling in these forms.
Every law enforcement agency on PEI will have to fall within the Police Act, the Policing Standards Act,
Which means,
including the RCMP.
which means that it's clear that they have to follow the guidelines,
Yes,
fill in the reports.
if they want to do law enforcement on PEI,
Right.
they're going to have to meet the policing standards, PEI Policing Standards Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Joe Citizen, Mary Citizen, we get to see those reports. Are they public documents?
Yes, anyone can see
Okay.
the PEI policing standards.
Okay, so I can see what's going on in other communities by just checking them out.
It's this thick.
They've covered
I should have taken
90%.
my booklet with me.
95% of the island. Okay.
Very good.
So we'll be at
Updating
meetings, we'll be
regularly.
updating regularly on
Yeah,
how we're
no,
getting along.
it's
You
not
keep
gonna
your ear to
be,
the ground.
doesn't hurt, to
And
always
that-
go and look
and
at
that
the
is-
updating.
Well, everybody wants data. That's what they want. Data. Seeing
guess
that, I
that's
saw that in
right.
the schools, we're seeing it now.
That's how they live.
Yes, you're right. And just to finish this off, attachment 2 is our implementation plan
Okay.
of how we're going to achieve this, going through quarters. I'll let you read that up. I'm gonna read that too.
It's good to have a roadmap
And
and a benchmark.
Madam Chair, I just wondered, did you say you would have to dedicate someone to overseeing this?
Right now,
These reports?
right now, we're dividing and conquering,
Right,
because there is no one available full-time to do it. We are changing one of the sergeant's roles
right.
to being the coordinator, and then the rest is gonna fall on management. Until it gets to a point where possibly we may have to look at
Hired someone.
additional help.
Delegate.
But we're not starting there, we're gonna see where we can go first.
With the assistance of
With the
their policy writer at the province.
Yes, we're gonna try and use our partners as much as we can at the province. Whatever they're offering us, we're gonna take as far as
Because in the
policy
report,
writing.
Madam Chair, 60% of the standards are related to policy. 20% are related to agreements, so that would be contractual agreements,
Mhm.
correct?
That's correct.
APA, province,
K-9
feds.
service,
Support services and specialized services, 20%. And that includes, that 20% includes support services, specialized services, 20% related to administrative processes. Okay?
that's correct.
That's it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for that, it's a
Bob?
lot.
No, I don't have any. Lots of information there. That's great. Thank you.
Lots of reading.
And as we go, this information will be presented in council's package, so they'll be privy to knowing where we're at as we start to report to council,
Yes,
indicators.
we can provide this information can go to all councilors, it's not
Yeah.
private.
No, I think it's good, reassuring. Okay. Hate crime training and engagement, that's you again.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Chair. So Charlottetown Police got involved in hate crime because it is a fast trending crime within the country. Anti-Semitism, attacks on synagogues. It's a time we're in right now, unfortunately, so we decided to get out in front of it. And we're committed to combating hate crimes and incidents that would encourage anyone who believes that they are experiencing a hate crime or incident to report it. Our major crime unit is responsible for monitoring and investigating hate-motivated crimes and incidents and to identify and address related trends in our community. So some background, in January of this year, 2026, several of our Charlottetown Police members, including civilians sworn, completed immersive training with a national expert on hate crime policing through Canada Race Relations Foundation. Training combating hate for safer communities. An immersive training for police services builds in-house capacity to help address a growing need to respond to hate crimes and incidences. As part of the training they took, the expert trainer also hosted a community session where a number of members of the community came to learn about the hate crimes and how it can be addressed, but also provide their input. A follow-up session will be given in the spring. As a follow-up to this training and community session, Charlottetown Police have designated 2 officers, not dedicated completely, but as part of their other duties, to support in these ongoing efforts. Specifically, they will assist in the development of newly related policy, serve as a resource for all members, contribute to the development of public information and resources, and be a liaison to the community groups on this issue. As of note, policing standards mandates that all agencies have a police that govern and investigate hate and bias motivated crimes against persons, organizations, or property. It's a good news story. I got any questions on that I can answer? CBC did a story on that.
How many people turned up for the community?
Quite a few.
Quite
Quite a few, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it was during the day.
officer from Halifax?
He's a retired member who now has his own private training
Consulting
business. I forget his name offhand, but he's quite popular. He's being used all throughout the Maritimes.
Yeah.
And he's coming back for the secondary training
In the
in the
spring?
spring, yes,
Spring.
to follow up.
Yeah, I know, Darren McDougal from the force was there. He was also there with information what they're doing on the ground here in Charlottetown. But it's not just the Jewish community, there are other communities that are being
That's
affected
correct.
by this whole hate crime. I know it's exploding within the Jewish, with the Jewish community and what's going on in the Mideast, but there are other groups that are being
Targeted.
targeted,
You're correct.
so.
And although we've been lucky in the city not to experience high-end hate crime violence, we are seeing rhetoric. We're taking down posters of anti-Semitic posters on telephone poles and whatnot. So
Right.
it is here.
And it's not always about ethnic background, there's also sexual orientation is another area that has to be,
And that was all brought up in the course and training.
okay,
Yep.
good.
Not to regress on it, but I think it's important just to have clarity on some of the, I'm just reading on the Policing Standards Act itself here online, and it says that while the Prince Edward Island Police Act provides oversight and standards for police service operating within Prince Edward Island, it does not apply to the RCMP. The RCMP is a federal service, is bound by provisions of the RCMP Act, and is subject to federal governments and oversight. There may be rare instances where the Provincial Police Act or its associated standards conflict with the RCMP Act. In such a situation arises, the RCMP Act shall take precedence. So it's important to have clarity on that these act or these standards do not apply. The RCMP will meet standards, but they will do that under their own act,
And what act are they under? Federal act?
RCMP Act.
Which covers 95% of the communities of Prince Edward Island. That's what the release is.
Anyways, I'm sorry, Jared, just,
Oh, no, that's okay, because when I read that, it's interesting, and it's how you and policy, it's so funny, because when I read under section 5 with policing service, the Royal Police shall provide the policing services described in subsection 4 and such other policing services as the minister may direct. So when I would read that line, I would internalize that they would have to follow
Right,
the direction of the minister.
right.
You know, so it's how we take a piece of policy or a piece of act and how you interpret it, that it can be,
where it becomes important is when they're implementing a standard to achieve to, right? And so when the province sets the baseline standards, it's important that municipal input is, and local issues are factored into that, and they're not just adopting Deshawn's one, a cookie cutter
Right.
approach to implementing these types of standards, or just simply adopt the RCMP standards, which are a nationwide federal standard, which could, I think there needs to be alignment there, and there has to be a standard. That's why it's so important to have local input.
absolutely.
So, Madam Chair, federal legislation overrides provincial legislation.
Oh, I know.
Just like provincial legislation overrides municipal legislation. It's just the way the
Well, I think
order.
it depends on the day, which legislation overrides which legislation.
It's all, as you would say, it's based on interpretation.
It just
Who's sending the message?
depends on that interpretation. Correct. You can always find a line to back up what you think. Thank you for that, and looking forward to being updated on continued work that's happening.
Absolutely.
It's really important, and it's good, when we talk about the pillar of policing on community policing, any kind of information and education we can get out to promote what work's being done to make sure that residents know we gotcha, in the end, so that would be good. Okay,
Just one question, Chief, the mayor had made the comment, RCMP responsible for 95% of the municipalities. But could you qualify that, and what percentage of the calls calls for service that,
Well, 95% of communities is misleading because we have the biggest city by far, so
Yeah,
by calls, we're pretty much at 50 50-50. Charlottetown Police does, half the calls for the whole province, so 95% of communities is misleading.
Yeah, that's just
statistic.
geographical area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're-
That's not population
That's correct.
Yeah.
Or call volume.
or call.
Okay, Councillor Duran, do you have any questions on the hate work?
No, I do not, thank you.
Okay, we'll give you a break for a minute, Sean, and we'll move into the operational report from Tim Mamie.
Thank you, Chair. The operational report, as you can see, is from 1st of February to the 28th, 2026. All of our inspection and response information is on the first page, and they will answer questions in regards to that. Some of our department activities and a couple of the highlights. We recently conducted our Change Your Clocks, Change Your Batteries campaign at McDonald's on University Avenue and at the Island Home Show, and we handed out hundreds of batteries at both events in advance of the Change Your Clocks a couple of Saturdays ago. Members are busy preparing for the Muscular Dystrophy Boot Drive on April 4th. Coming up 2026, we'll have crews both at Superstore on Belvedere and the Royalty Crossing. Recent firefighter competition or relief firefighter competition has closed, and 4 members from 3 of them from our existing volunteer firefighters and 1 from outside were all offered jobs. In the coming days, they will be accepting those and be scheduled for some shifts. Glad to announce that Emily Reynolds, Ross Martin, and Jonathan Paglia from our volunteer ranks, and Colby Smith from the Atlantic Police Academy's fire program. He was also a successful applicant through the process. 4 excellent new members for the relief firefighter ranks, and we'll be looking to schedule a date and time for a promotional parade with our chair as the opportunity presents going forward. Department received 2 new support vehicles and a new fire investigation trailer in the preceding month as to improve our operational efficiency in a couple of different regards. And we're wishing the best of luck to our firefighter curling team, the PEI firefighter, Charlottetown Fire Department representing the PEI Firefighter Curling Association at the National Championships in Truro, Nova Scotia, March 19th to the 28th. Our members are Alan Brown, retired volunteer firefighter, William Callbeck, volunteer lieutenant, Mike McRae, who's a platoon chief, and Winston Bryan is the fire inspector with us. Our members of the team, and we wish them the best of luck in bringing home the hardware.
Are they defending champs?
Of the Nationals, no. Of the Island, yes.
Of the other, okay, yeah, I knew they won something.
It's one or the other. A couple of other highlights in training. Been a very busy training period with CPR, first aid, saving your own, confined space rescue, emergency vehicle driver training, MFR, medical first responder, ventilation, ropes, knots, naloxone training, ice and water rescue courses, hazardous material courses, and many more internal training topics. It's also been a busy time preparing both the capital and operational budgets for review and approval in the coming weeks, as it states. Work continues with the new station build team as 3D renderings are expected in the coming days, and we will be meeting as a team on Wednesday, tomorrow, to review the latest information in front of us as a team. Final mention, our department deputy, Chief Kent Mitchell, he remains out of office as he recovers from a recent surgery and some additional health challenges. Our entire department wishes him a very fast recovery and a quick return to duty, and we are thinking of Kent as we always are. And just the final, Chair, I guess, if there's, in light of, I guess, some of the discussion from the mayor and with the new business arising, just in regards to the the operational process last night with the budget, we had a discussion about trying to bring that up in either new business or old business to discuss. And in light of some of the reasoning, maybe some of the stuff I was going to be discussing, if we can get into that discussion, were about some of the misconceptions or misstatements last night that we need to maybe relook at if we're looking at the importance of this. And from the fire chief's perspective, this is our most important request and initiative in this year. So to let it go after especially some of the, like I say, misconceptions or misstatements last night, it'd be nice to address that for, if not in this form, in another.
Yeah, and I think had we brought it back, that would have been where we would have had opportunity to discuss, because it was not presented as the urgency that it's since come to light. Do you know what I mean? Back in December, it was kind of like, here's my ask, send it to finance. But then last night, we saw another side of that where you were fairly insistent that this is not really a want, it's more of a need.
Yeah,
So,
which,
and I think hopefully we should have some time to get into a little bit more discussion because I think it's important. We haven't approved the final budget yet,
no,
so
exactly, and
it's kind of
with
an
the process
opportune
a little
time if committee is open to that.
Madam Chair, just on a point of order, I think the budget was approved by council. Now it goes to the vote on the 31st.
So there's no discussion, there's no
No,
more,
I think that's
Okay.
what we went over the last two.
well, then I guess what Plan B could look like moving forward.
Two questions, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. Tim, our chief, I should say.
Yes.
Who's all on the team for the new station?
we have volunteer district chiefs from both districts. We have a representative from the floor or from the station from each district. We also have a platoon chief on there, a career firefighter, myself, the deputy, and the Sable architect and a consultant.
No, the reason I asked was because we always read the team, so I just wondered who's all involved in.
I can give you the names.
Oh, no, that's not, no. And the other question is, Councillor Twill asked about the underwriter's report. Was that always in-house, kept in-house? Can you answer that?
This underwriter's report, and to address that, the reason it hasn't been able to be shared with the general public at this point was because there are some land matters that were before us
Right.
that we had to identify before
we
we could
all know,
provide
yeah.
that. Exactly.
Once that gets settled, cause that was my
Yes.
one of my questions, no, I'm glad you asked it,
We should be able
would be that I think it wouldn't hurt to have that posted.
So once the
people
land and
understand.
everything's all looked after, then
so that we avoid that, any sort of legal or
it
land.
can be released.
Can we
Yes, that's
recommend
my
that,
intent.
Your Worship,
Oh, yeah,
for
no,
committee?
sure.
And
Sure.
working with, yeah,
I was asking about previous reports of which the councillor sat.
well, they
as a
pay
member
for
of
it,
council.
the taxpayers pay for those
No, but
documents, so it's
I was
good.
asking if the previous,
Yeah, and from my recollection, well, before my time in 06, 07, 2 reports were done, and I don't believe they were made
they weren't
public.
released.
Yeah, well, that's
No,
wrong,
no, they weren't.
we can change
Well,
that.
they weren't adopted, I don't think, is
No, that's right.
just-
And
So
just a footnote in that, it's funny, I was thinking this last night when I went home, I don't know why I sort of think about city politics when you go home at night after a meeting. But anyway, I do, and I was elected in 2014, and I was handed that file with the new fire station in 2014, right off the blocks. And it was going on before that,
2010.
2010, because one of the former councilors said to me, I remember my first meeting of council, said, how are you getting along with the new fire station? And I looked at him and I said, I've only been here for 3 weeks. You know, so that's how long this has been going back and forth about a new station here, whether we're gonna go there or when all that stuff. So, you know, that's just a footnote anyway. Why I
I'm
think
sure
when
the
I go
initial
home, I don't
discussion
know.
was planning or knowing that, watching the growth, rapid growth that was happening in our community, in our city.
Yes,
And now we're there. Now it's like, now we have to react. We can't just plan
That's
and
right.
deal. We have to start
That's what's in the capital
actionizing.
budget.
Correct.
So Madam Chair, if I can just go back to operational. This past week, Montreal recognized the 1-year fire of a Airbnb where 7 residents
Hmm.
died. And we have rooming houses around the city of Charlottetown, and I just wanna know from the chief, do we have standards that we have to go in and make sure that, look, you don't have,
Sprinkler systems or.
well, if not a sprinkler system, even a smoke detector, right?
yeah.
Or
Some of the older ones,
or a
yeah.
means to escape, like a fire exit, which was not available for some of those tenants in Montreal. There was no exit.
I would assume they'd have to be up to code when they're provincially funded buildings, wouldn't they?
What buildings, in Montreal or here?
No, here, like with our community cares and.
No, these are like rooming houses.
These are private.
Still, the fire code's still applicable too.
Yeah, there are rooming houses in Charlottetown where there could be 6 to 8 rooms.
Oh,
that are
yes,
out
I
for
know. I
rent.
call those community
They're all
cares.
defined,
And they're not
there's a
community
different
care.
definition.
They're privately rented.
So planning department deals with those applications or occupancies, and fire does inspections, national fire code inspections in accordance with those.
Okay, so the process is that it's reported to planning, they do a planning inspection through their building inspectors,
Zoning
then
redevelopment
they-
application.
and then if there's a fire and life safety issues,
Fire inspector.
then your fire inspector goes. Yeah, because a couple of were reported to me that we should be looking into them, and again, just on the heels of the 1-year anniversary of the fire in
Yes.
the Airbnb fire in Montreal, which, by the way, I think the owner of that building is being charged with 7 counts of manslaughter. Like, it's a
that's why I
pretty
said last-
severe situation.
Let's hope that they find those building inspectors that
Yeah,
they're
so
trying to get.
I will
ordered
follow
to-
up on that.
Yeah, no,
Thank
it's good. Good. Okay, we'll get back and talk about that in a few minutes. Chief Mamie, about last night. For E, I'd asked last meeting to kind of get an update on the cadet program. We received a report in June where council was informed that Charlottetown Police were allocated 4 seats for the January 2026 class. The cost of each cadet was $33,000, which would be paid up front by Charlottetown Police. Once they graduated, reimbursement would be provided. So did we have 4 constables or cadets start in the program in January?
We did a testing and recruiting process, and we have one female cadet who's at Police Academy right now. Who's under the blanket of Charlottetown Police. If she's successful, she will be offered a job, and
She started in January?
she started in the January class. She'll work on the job training with us, and if she's successful, she's offered a job as Charlottetown police officer. And
Was there no interest for the other 3 seats?
it's only 1 seat at a time.
Well, there's not 4 altogether.
Yeah, so that's
Or-
what's
or
written in the
4 at
report.
once.
Yeah, it sounded like there was
I
4
think
seats for
I think it
January.
was originally it was two in one class and 2 in the other,
Oh, okay.
and we went with 1 for the first class in January.
How long does the training, no, sorry, Madam Chair, how long does the training, like if I sign up tomorrow, like how long am I there before I graduate?
6
6 months? A year? I don't know.
January till June, and then on the job training is 10 to 12 weeks.
So you'll graduate basically in June and then,
No, you don't graduate till after you successfully complete the on the job training,
okay,
which is about 10 weeks long.
Yeah.
It's about a 9-month program in total.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be a year, now it's 9 months.
So are we continuing with this program?
This cadet that's there right now, we are paying for her tuition out of our operational budget. I checked with Justice and Public Safety, and they're no longer participating in the sponsorship part of it, which is where they pay the tuition at the end. First candidate was too far along in the process to not honor what we've done, so we've paid for the tuition out of our operational expenses. I've asked for a letter from Justice and Public Safety as to whether we're gonna be receiving any sponsorship money in the future. If yes, great, if not, what the reasons why not. And I haven't received that letter as of yet.
So if we don't, if we're not going to be reimbursed, I didn't see that in our operational budget for this year, which is why I'm bringing it up now. So if it's not in our operational budget.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was paid in 25-26.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so that's why I'm asking about it now though, is, so we aren't going to be participating in a sponsorship program. Or did we budget for that in our operational budget this year?
No, we didn't. That's we're gonna have to get a final clarity on whether we're getting sponsored by the province. If we're not getting sponsored by the province, we're gonna have to look at whether we can afford to pay the tuition.
But even if we are getting sponsored from the province, we don't have the money in our budget to do it. We don't have extra money in our policing budget for this year, we didn't put any extra in, did we?
Can I just jump in there? So the positions are budgeted for, right? So if you could just explain, Sean, how the sponsor program works. Basically, the province, if they sponsor, are paying the training, but what the police services are doing is guaranteeing employment for that person,
That is correct.
right? For potentially 30 years,
Yes, that's
right?
correct.
So a position has to be in the budget before sponsorship is considered.
Right, so
Yes.
we would have, in our current budget, we would have 4 potential positions based on that report we received in June that could be filled with police cadets.
If
From what I'm hearing.
based on your needs, so like what vacant positions do you have there now, Sean, to be filled?
We have at least 3 vacant positions with forecasting at least 5 or 6 more in 2026.
And those positions are built into your status quo budget?
Yes,
Yes.
we have the budget for those positions,
Exactly.
the salaries.
So,
What we'll have
So
to
did
just,
they pull funding from everywhere or just, because if Kensington has a position and they're putting them through and they're committing to time back, are we gonna find it challenging to fill those 5 positions without,
I'm not sure
buying into a
I'm not sure if
sponsorship?
Kensington has had any of
I just use that as an example.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Kensington has received any sponsorship money, but I know Summerside Police have received quite a bit of money for cadets that they've put through the academy.
that are committed to going to work for Summerside
That's
for
correct.
5 years. So that's what I'm asking, is it going to be challenging if we have 3 vacant, 5 potential coming? How are we planning, what's our plan to backfill those positions if we're not participating in this?
Well, we only have 2 options. Our vacancies, we either hire through experienced police officer. We take cadets that have gone through the academy on their own dime and are available, or we sponsor cadet ourselves and pay for it out of our own operational budget.
That's bringing me back to, that's what I'm saying, but we didn't for this year. So we're gonna be a little bit behind as far as being able to participate in that program again.
Yeah, well, you can participate, the program is there, you can participate in it as much as you want. The question is the province going to sponsor the money at
So
the
let's
end?
say they're not, just
Mhm.
say, they've said they're not right now. And so we aren't feeling that's important enough in our operational budget at this time to invest in.
Well, we have 1 cadet that's there now, and we're paying for it out of our operational budget. We'll have to discuss whether that's a good business model to, out of operational expenses, to pay people to go to the police academy at about
Sure.
$35,000 a year.
100%. Saying that again, then circle back, do you know the ratio of how many people are going on their own since other communities are sponsoring these people? How many people are actually paying on their own?
I was speaking with the director of the police academy, and they had stopped doing that, and now they're bringing that back in, where a person can go on their own.
So right now it would be 0. Because it was stopped for a while.
Yes, but they're bringing that back.
So that's where it's something I think we do have to look at as a committee, you know, as far as our investment into these kind of programs, if they're happening in other jurisdictions with policing, whether it's Summerside or Kensington or whatever, and Moncton, if they're getting sponsored to go with the guaranteed commitment return and we're not participating in that, it could be impactful.
It'll all depend on whether we want to pay through our operational budget
Exactly.
to have city residents go through the academy, paid for by Charlottetown Police.
Or work to get back to find out how we
Or
can
hire
work with
experienced
them.
officers.
That's, I was gonna
That's-
say,
Yeah.
the higher
100%.
experience officers.
I mean, it's a great city to work in, for sure.
Yeah, well, like I said, there's 3 we have vacancies, there's 3 avenues to hire people. Experienced police officer, which we've had lots of success with. We get people that have gone to the academy and paid their own way and are now fully trained and looking for a job. Or we can do a sponsorship program where we select pre-camp.
We'll just have to monitor as we're going through about how your recruitment is going, you know, as we proceed, that's all. That was just because it was updated in June. I was looking to see where we were with that. So, yeah, maybe once you get more information, you could just provide another update if the province is gonna get back on the horse.
As soon as I get a letter,
That would be great.
response in writing as to where they stand, we'll definitely present that at the next council
Okay.
meeting.
That'd be
Well,
good.
just on that, chief. Commissioner, the RCMP commissioner, what's his name, he was on question period on Sunday. And he said their recruitment efforts are struggling because of COVID, because of George Floyd. or defund the police. So I think municipal police forces are running with the same situation.
Well, I think that's why we
People are
sponsored or agreed to this, because we know that it's not a
Well, it's
career
not only
for the
going
faint of
after,
heart.
it's not only affecting experienced police officers, anyone that's
That's
coming
right.
out of school is saying, why do I
Which
wanna
is-
go,
That's exactly,
like, why do I wanna go into
Yeah.
a cadet program?
let alone pay $33,000 out of my own pocket to go do it, right? That's why we were all in favor of this sponsorship program, because we felt that it was
But
gonna
if,
be,
if you wanna get qualified in any field, like my daughter's a BN, Bachelor of Nursing, that costs her thousands of dollars. There's a cost to getting trained. I don't know if it's just police or nursing, but
the
there's.
new world, there's gotta always be a carrot for them. They're not running out passionately, not many. They need to path of least resistance for our young people today.
Well, you know what, if you can get over those barriers of the George Floyd incident, defund the police, COVID, those are big challenges. That's why our experienced police forces, experienced police officers are hopefully looking at Charlottetown as a place to come.
Recruiting is challenging
Yeah,
in the
that it
world
is.
today, but we've had to date, we've had good luck with our experienced police officer recruitment, and we're not short as a lot of our other
That's right.
agencies in the
That's
Maritimes.
Perfect. No, just wanted the update. Thank you for that. Under introduction of new business, Councillor Tweel and Beck had requested, and thank you CAO for encouraging them to get that back. I certainly know it's not prepared today, but I just wanna make note that maybe our next meeting, we could have a look at the Humane Society contract.
I have all the documents and everything ready to speak on it right
Oh.
now if you wish.
Okay, well, we,
I'm glad you're bringing it up because I'm looking at our enforcement and summary offense procedure bylaw. And under section 6.1, you know, there is already a bylaw that enforces not only police, but our bylaw enforcement officers, dogs running at large. First offense, $150. Second offense or subsequent offenses, $250. So we can give out tickets too. We don't have to just rely on the Humane Society, but again, that's why we have the dog bylaw, and it covers the enforcement and summary offense bylaw covers a lot of areas, including the dog bylaw and, yeah, animal control, dangerous and unsightly premises, noise or public nuisance, control the parking of vehicles, it's all there.
You're right, your worship.
So-
I think what it comes down to is, are we getting bang for our buck for the $130,000, give or take,
Yeah.
that we're signing on this agreement? And I've done the research, the CAO is familiar with it as well, and from the research we're getting, you're doing more than the lion's share of the work, and we are receiving good value. If we were to take on all the services that they do, it'd probably be triple the price of what we're paying for the Humane Society to do it right now. And the stats that I've gathered here for you show that as well.
would you be able to include that in our package for council? Because,
Yes.
you know, I think that both,
Public information.
yeah, and both councillors would like to see that.
So what happens, Sean, if all of a sudden you get a phone call about a wild dog or a dog off leash or something like that, and then by the time our bylaw officer or police go down there, they're gone. So,
It's like anything.
yeah, like
Cars
I
are
don't understand,
speeding.
like, but like by the time the call comes in, and by the time the person responds to it, well, I'm not there with the dog anymore, I'm gone. So is there gotta be someone in the park 24/7, or there's gotta be someone here 24/7 or something like that? And we're all talking about shortage of workers, you know, I mean, we can't afford to have an officer,
24 hours.
you know, we just can't afford to have them in there. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
Year to date, the Humane
Do you have to take
Society,
pictures, or what do they have to do?
the Humane Society does a variety of different services within that $130,000
Yeah.
agreement. And in total, it's 825 year to date different acts they performed within the Humane Society, service that they provide, from bites that break skin, community patrols, stray cats, stray dogs. There's There's numerous services.
Yeah, like and I'm just trying to understand it too, like as Cherry Parks Rec, we made up bigger signs down there saying your dog's gonna be on a leash, and we're going that far, but if there's nobody there to enforce those, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Because I can walk through there without, I'm not a dog owner, but if I had a dog, I'm gonna take it off the leash. And if
It's
there's
like
nobody gonna
anything.
say, Kevin, you gotta put your dog in.
50 is your speed limit, and most people go 65, and unless
Not me.
our community police officer's there to catch you,
Just let me read this to you and then maybe answer your questions. The City of Charlottetown has an agreement with the Humane Society for patrolling, impounding, and safekeeping of all dogs in the City of Charlottetown. This includes providing staff, vehicles, shelter facilities to ensure the humane treatment of animals impounded within the city. They enforce provisions of the dog control bylaw relating to registration and control of dogs, and they provide adequate accommodations for dogs which have been impounded. The Humane Society also provides monthly reports to our bylaw officer showing the number of cases, new and closed, community patrols, license issues, stray cats and dogs, etc. COM staff from Charlottetown Police, along with City Hall and the Humane Society, meet to discuss a proactive communication plan to address these concerns, which include new additional park signage, a marketing campaign, eye-catching posters and social media content, along with larger format park signage at key locations, social media, which includes education and reminders, dedicated and updated website information as well. The existing contract expired December 31st, and we've just signed off on a new contract by the mayor and CAO that's valid for the next 3 years.
And when we signed up, I did ask about, what are what's provided in this contract? They have kennels, right?
They do, they have
Yeah.
everything. It's
So if we were doing it ourselves,
it
we would have to get kennels.
we would have to get.
We'd have to
kennels.
have a program that we would go on social
That's
media.
correct.
If you're looking for a dog or a cat or a monkey. These are some of the, challenges what we get
Not
into.
only would we have the staff, like we just talked about staff shortages, so we don't have the staff to provide this service. And then to get the infrastructure and the impound facilities, we're safely say it's probably double or triple the cost of what we're paying for.
and there's a lot of partnership. I know Todd will, as our bylaw officer, will accompany with Humane Society in specific situations or, so I think it,
They
Yeah.
also add some services that don't show up in the stats, like when we do drug investigations and go into a house to enforce drug enforcement, there's usually some form of a dog there, so they're on
not a nice one.
yeah, so they're on standby to help us out with that. There's also times where we have impaired drivers, where they need to, the impaired driver's going into custody and someone needs to look out for the dog. Anything under the Coroner's Act where someone has been deceased and there's animals, there's a lot of different,
That's the information that needs to go so that they can read that, understand that. If you include that in our package, I don't have a
Well, they
question
have to do a bit of a
service.
read aloud too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he can during our report. Maybe what you could do is provide me something similar that I could present when I give our next report. If you could do that for
no
me,
problem.
then
And
I
the
can.
last thing in that is just that I think the message coming out of there from some counselors is that they want the bylaw officers or the Humane Society be at the park all the time. Because they keep saying people are terrified and there's dogs on the loose and all that stuff. But that's not gonna happen, I don't think. Is
And I
it to have
think-
someone there 24/7?
Madam Chair, it was brought up at,
Maybe I'm
not the
wrong.
last meeting, but the meeting before, regular monthly meeting. We could sit down with our partners at A Canada and ask, okay, is there some space out at Experimental Farm that we can use, set aside as an on-leash park, dog park? And I think that would be, provide an alternative. Right now, people that are going to, dog owners that are going to Victoria Park, that's the only on-leash park that we have in town, other than what's out at Hillsborough Park, right?
Upton Park, you can unleash your
And
dogs.
then that's free, so that'd be another downtown location. Because I know the council from the area talks about the Experimental Farm being the geographical center of the city of Charlottetown.
Always looking for new opportunities, yeah.
Yes.
That would be through your strategic governmental affairs,
That would be
that's
through council return.
where you would
Yes,
wanna run
yes.
that. All right, so that, if you could provide me with that, Sean, that would be great, and then we follow it up. Before we move to you, Tim, under new business, I also wanted to request, so I was looking at, as we went through whole budget, I wanted to raise a thought that I wanted to note for the record, and I was gonna bring it up tonight in council, but we're not having council, was that when we look at our budget for like police and fire, and that's, I'm bringing that up because this is the committee that we're responsible for. When we see the line item revenue for police, it's 3,037,000, and if I go back to fire, it's fire would be after finance. There's none. You guys don't drive.
No, there's no, you'd be looking pretty hard
Okay.
and fast for that.
So police is showing a line item in our budget of revenue of 3 million, whatever. I'm noting like, it's not clearly displaying what that in,
But I
what,
sent you the document.
yeah, I know.
I broke it down.
You did, and
Yeah.
that's lovely, but I think it's really important that it's broken down in our document, so that people can see where we draw that revenue from.
And they were in the past when I was on council.
Right.
But as we evolved, the budget book
Mhm.
became thinner and thinner because less and less information came out. Just as
But
you
it's
were
really
saying.
hard for people to understand what we're supporting when we see, what does revenue of 3 million mean? This is my point
Right.
right now. I'd like to
Right.
see that, I'd like to understand in our own budgets, what does that mean?
Right.
Like our partnership funding,
Right,
how much is that? What's our contractual agreements
Right.
within that? Like, what did I also wanna know? What's it intended to support? What departments, where's it flow? We just saw today, Public Works is getting, police money for policing, but it's really police money that's vetted through Public Works for infrastructure.
right.
But that should be at least indicated under the police budget, so people know what's what, in my opinion.
And Public Works is also responsible for fleet management.
Yeah.
So when
But all
vehicles,
our vehicles go through that.
right,
But wouldn't it be interesting if you had like, you know, police vehicles, 500,000
right,
vetted through Public Works?
right.
Just so it's clear, so people can read this. That was my experience being away. So again, like what funding's coming in, what's it intended to support? What department or program does it flow to?
Right.
And any conditions or agreements that are attached to it.
Right.
So
So-
I'm asking for that information.
Yeah.
As we just are passing our budget to be brought to our committee so that we can be evaluating, that is part of our governance,
That
right?
was after the committee level. But Madam Chair, last night I think was explained by the CAO. You were asking where are those buckets of money under the grants and so forth. I think you were a proponent that we should be looking at providing the buckets of money and let the administration decide where that money goes. Is that correct to say?
No,
No,
what I was
no.
getting at last night
No, I know
is,
you were trying to find money
Yeah.
in the buckets to put towards offsetting
yeah,
the
we
deficit.
had a grant,
Yeah, but if you look at some of those grants that go out to these organizations
yeah,
greatly need those grants.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to start going down, where are you gonna cut? Because that's why you leave it up to the administration. When the administration comes back with, here's where the grant money went.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different with the revenue side. If we break down every revenue generator, again, is that needed information? Probably not.
I think it is if it involves
don't.
contracts and money coming in from, yeah, I do, I
You
think
can
it's
ask the
very
questions.
important.
That's what I do, I ask questions.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's responsibility of this whole committee to have that information, and all of council ultimately.
Chair, if I could just touch on, you know, the structure of how, like, Public Works looking after the fleet. You know, it has to be realized that these were all previous decisions of council to do it that way.
Right, oh, I
Yeah,
understand
that's
that,
right.
this
So-
isn't on you.
No, no,
No,
no,
no.
I'm saying, can we
but-
change it so it's clearer, cause to me, it's,
but see, we changed it because we wanted to separate ourselves from, dealing with the grants and who goes, who doesn't go, as an example.
the grants.
Hmm?
We've always dealt, this is the first year we haven't looked at grants.
Because council was saying, take it away from us, let administration deal with it.
It was council's direction after last budget to do it the way we're doing it this year.
That's fine. I was just asking how much money is in that pot, cause I can't find it. And it's a legit question to know when I'm approving, or I feel. Kevin and Bob, you guys can, I don't sit on finance, so I'm not part of
Neither do
those
I.
inner
On the revenue
discussions.
side?
On all of it, Like, if you're wanting to know where's the grant money, how much is in the grant pool?
Yeah.
That's a legit
I
question.
think part of your questioning, what I picked up from you last night was too, is that we gotta look after our own house before we,
100%.
before we keep putting a
Yeah.
million,
When we're
1.5
struggling.
million
Yeah,
out to other associations.
correct.
And I'm in full agreement with that. I
Everybody's
always
in
was.
need, right?
Yes.
And whether it's an outside agency, like, it's a hard time right now, but when we're saying that we don't have the money to support a request for our fire department, then I'm saying,
Okay.
I don't have much time, your worship.
No,
and I know the
but
chief wants
you
to
raised
talk.
it because you raised it
I've
last night.
asked-
Okay,
Yeah.
do you take away from hospice? Okay?
My po- I'm
No,
not-
no, do you take from
Philip,
sport P? No,
No, I'm chairing this meeting.
I know,
I
but-
was bringing up that I wanted to
But this
understand
was,
the budget better.
this was given to us last year at the end. This wasn't decided by council.
Okay,
The
but we're not
director at the
talking about the
time-
grants, I'm talking about
This is the
police-
grants.
I'm not talking about grants in this
Okay.
meeting, this isn't the venue
The
for it.
revenue,
The revenue for police,
right.
not
Right.
grants.
So you go through the chief, yes.
I've asked him if
yeah.
he could provide that
Yeah,
moving
and-
forward at our next meeting, that I could have
And I
that
provided
information.
you from this budget where the revenue is coming from, because I went to the assistant manager
Yep,
to get the numbers.
yeah, you kind of
And
showed
I-
me a
And
breakdown,
I sent the email to you.
yep, but did you see it?
No.
Well, you
Okay,
can
so
forward
that's the
on.
issue.
Yeah.
So that is my issue there, but Sean, what I'm looking for is, I can send you it in an email, is I kinda wanna know when we look at revenue, where's that revenue coming from? What's our partner funding? What's our conditions? What's our responsibility with that? Is it parking? How much, break it down for us so that we understand where the money's coming from in revenue. And I
Yeah.
think that should be included in our budget book.
Again, Madam Chair, I get a little disturbed by listening to, where's that bucket for the community grants? Like, do you take money away from
Okay,
seniors?
we're not talking,
No,
we're
but
not
seniors
talking
active
about,
living
we're
center,
not talking about
Boys and
grants
Girls
right now,
Club?
your worship, that'd
Like,
be
you
a
know, that's-
discussion
that's
at a
where you're
different
going.
place, that,
Yeah.
I don't know what that committee, I think that's finance probably,
No, that was-
who's overseeing the grants.
I asked for it. That's
Okay,
all,
but-
yeah,
Who
all you
oversees
do.
that, by the way?
Is it finance?
And what grant it is,
Yeah,
if
this-
it's economic
Well,
development.
Okay, there's
Let's say you have 10
finance,
people.
there's finance,
If I'm an
finance,
outside agency
sustainability,
and I'm applying for a grant
planning and heritage.
for support, does that request go to finance, or does that request go to, I know Wayne's economic development. Use Boys and Girls Club for an example.
Yeah.
If I'm the Boys and Girls Club, who do I apply to for funding support at the city?
Okay, so inner city life camp building, safe for communities, where did you apply?
I always applied to parks.
Okay, this time it fell under finance because the money was coming from Public Safety Canada, building safer communities.
No, that's an old one. You're
No,
wrong.
that's last year's,
Yeah,
16,000.
I know, Philip, that's a different program. I'm talking about little grants that the community people apply for.
Yeah.
So when the Boys and Girls Club apply for funding, where do they put that application in?
Finance,
That's my point. So that money in finance for grants,
right?
how much have we allotted this year?
I'm going, for this year, we
You're getting me
allotted
off track anyway.
428,000. And
$428,000?
$815. So again, senior college, Prince Edward Island Spelling Bee, Prince Edward Island Cerebral Policy Association.
Okay.
Those are so these are associations that do valuable work and volunteer work for our community.
There's
So
no
we don't get
question.
involved in the grant process at all.
Because that's what we.
No, I'm
we
asking a
decided-
question.
We decided to get away from it.
Okay.
Those were recommendations that came from last year's council.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm just
There
asking.
isn't, if there was an abundance of money that we had lots to give out, but when we're not fulfilling our own services, that was my point last night, is there a possibility to look, if 428,000, basically if we had scrapped the other 2, 3, 4, and 5 new initiatives from fire and took 428,000, we might have only been like $60,000 short to meet that first.
Who would be saying no to Special Olympics PEI? Who would be saying no to Young at Heart Theatre? Who would be saying no
I
to
think that-
Sport PEI? These are all the lists. That's what you'd be saying no
The
to.
message would be, who's saying no to fire safety, but that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, Tim, I'm gonna let you wrap it up, you had asked for a few minutes, I have to get back to work, so.
Just under a point of order, is there a report to go with this? Because I didn't know this was gonna be on the agenda.
Okay,
It's
well,
not on the agenda. your report, your follow-up.
No, he has to add it under new business, but we can,
Did
you
you
know
speak to
what,
the
if
chair
you're
about it?
not comfortable with it
She mentioned to
today,
me last night, that's. why
Okay,
we
so
bring it up.
you
I said
already
he
knew
could
that.
bring it up under new business.
Well, I didn't know this was coming up, that's,
What is it? Supposed to
Well,
be?
He was just gonna follow up, he wanted to follow up with the committee after last night's discussion.
well, we had the discussion,
Okay,
but
well, if you, I'm chairing,
I know.
if we can get it, if nobody wants, we can bring it up as a point of order for our next meeting. If we can get full agreement to talk about it now, we can add it, if we don't want to, we'll bring it up at the next meeting.
I'd like to see a report come to
Okay.
us.
Certainly, I'll draft one.
Yeah,
Okay, so can we make note that
Yeah.
Tim will present follow-up to,
Budget.
The budget.
I don't know what you wanna call it, budget discussion
Is that
at
what
our
it
next
was?
meeting.
That's what you're talking about, budget discussion.
but the
Yeah.
budget process with the
It will be
capital
over.
budget and the operational budget.
Yeah.
We went through in 3 different parts.
Mm-hmm,
It now moves on to council for a vote.
What you'll read in the report is there was, from my perspective, some discrepancies in last night's proceedings. So that's what I wanted to identify. You brought up one of them there this morning. I have a few more that I'd like to share and
The
just. in this-
24-hour service,
No, just you made a mention of the minutes you found from the December 19th meeting.
that it was
Yeah.
approved by,
Yep.
to go up.
Last night, that lots of the talk was about the chief didn't prepare that, the chief didn't see that through, so I wanted to make sure that we addressed those items and some of the discrepancies in the way
Right.
the process went through, just from the 2 departments sitting in this room alone.
But I just went back to the minutes, that's where I got it from.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rich.
No,
You just
I-
basically wanna clear the air,
Yeah, well,
some
More or
things.
less, and address any of the
Yeah. Okay, why don't
discrepancies.
we,
yeah, well, if we
is
could,
it still gonna make a difference once the budget is passed Monday?
well, the budgets, they said that we don't, there's no
We just have to
discussion, we
move
just
forward.
No,
budget.
they're not.
Well, then, there's no sense that's gonna change, other than we might
Oh,
wanna look at
That's
other
for
things.
information purposes.
I'll bring a report through and we'll.
Yeah.
At our next committee,
Okay,
because I'm sure $428,000 won't be allotted before next month, but maybe it will.
Well, someone has to say no to those organizations.
Obviously, if there's no money there, you can't say yes, but that's a discussion that I think's
Fair.
worth having.
Fairness.
Anyway, thank you, motion to adjourn.
right here,
Move, second, thank you.
Councilor Drone?